There's a huge problem unfolding in Western Sydney right now, and it's one that could shape the future of Australia's biggest growth region. A new report from Ray White Commercial Western Sydney has revealed a shocking truth. While there are around 80,000 new homes approved for development, only 5,369 are actually under construction. That's right, tens of thousands of homes on paper, but barely a few thousand turning into reality. The report shows Western Sydney is carrying the weight of New South Wales' population boom. Nearly 58% of the state's entire population growth is happening right here. And when it comes to apartment and townhouse approvals, the region is responsible for almost 60% of them. But here's the catch. Approval doesn't mean construction. In southwestern Sydney, for example, only 519 homes are currently accounted for. That's miles away from the 7,300 that need to be delivered every single year just to keep up. Ray White director Peter Vines summed it up perfectly. He called it a housing crisis hidden in plain sight. He says, the numbers suggest progress on paper, but the physical delivery of homes is falling dangerously behind. And the data backs him up, even though the region's updated housing targets have been slightly lowered from 33,000 homes a year down to about 25,000. That reduction isn't because demand is dropping, it's because expectations have been forced to adjust under the pressure of migration, limited land, and rising construction costs. So what's really going wrong? According to the report, money isn't the problem. Investor interest is high. But funding bottlenecks, land constraints, and bureaucratic delays are stalling projects before they even begin. In other words, the pipeline's full, but the tap's barely dripping. And there's a bigger risk brewing. The Home Guarantee Scheme expansion in October is expected to drive even more demand. But without more homes being built, that demand might just push prices higher, not improve affordability. Mr. Vines also pointed to a potential policy time bomb. The Western Sydney Airport and the billions in infrastructure projects surrounding it are meant to create a booming economic hub. But if workers can't afford to live nearby, the entire plan could backfire. As he put it, if housing doesn't keep up, the airport could become a policy failure. Now, not every area's struggling equally. Places like Parramatta and the Hills are showing some promise. Thanks to the state government's transport-oriented development reforms, these aim to boost medium-density housing near metro stations. But out in the outer growth corridors, places like Camden and Liverpool, there's been almost no relief. These are the areas under the most housing stress, yet they're being left behind. As Peter Vines said, Western Sydney isn't just the future of New South Wales, it's the present. And right now, that present looks like a ticking clock. If approvals don't turn into actual homes soon, Sydney's entire growth model could start to unravel. Australia's rental market just hit another record low, and not in a good way. According to the latest data from Catality's quarterly rental review, national vacancy rates have dropped to the lowest level ever recorded. And that means one thing: rents are going up, fast. Catality's numbers show that in the last 3 months alone, rents jumped 1.4% across the country. That's the biggest quarterly increase we've seen since mid-2024, and higher than the 1.1% rise from earlier this year. If we look at the full year, rents are now up 4.3%, almost a full percentage point higher than the growth we saw back in May. So where's the heat coming from? Well, Sydney and Brisbane are leading the charge. Both cities saw rent growth accelerate sharply, while Adelaide was the only one to actually slow down. The real problem? There just aren't enough rentals. Listings are down, demand is still strong, and vacancy rates have sunk to a record low 1.47%, To put that in perspective, before COVID, the average vacancy rate was more than double that, around 3.3%. In other words, good luck finding a place right now. Supply's especially tight in Sydney's unit market, which hit an eye-watering 1.35% vacancy rate in September. Even with more investors entering the property market lately, it hasn't really helped. Rental stock just isn't increasing. And the cost of renting? Yeah, it's hitting new highs too. For the first time ever, the median rent across Australia's capital cities has cracked the $700 mark. It reached $702 a week in September. Regional Australia's still a bit cheaper at $591 a week, but that gap's closing fast. Just a few months ago, the difference was $123. Now it's down to $111. No surprises here. Sydney remains the most expensive place to rent in the country, with the average property going for $807 a week. At the other end of the scale, Hobart's still the most affordable capital, sitting at $584 a week. But here's the part that could have bigger consequences. Rising rents don't just hurt tenants, they could also mess with the economy. Because rents paid is a key part of Australia's inflation measure, the Consumer Price Index. So as rents climb, inflation might too, which means the Reserve Bank could be forced to keep interest rates higher for longer. So to sum it up, fewer rentals, higher prices, and more pressure on both renters and homeowners alike. Over the past 5 years, national rents have surged nearly 44%. That's an extra $204 a week on average. And unless supply improves soon, Australia's rental crunch looks set to continue well into 2026. Now it's your turn. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about Australia's property future. Thank you for watching.